In.
Hey. Welcome to the 12th Annual Women's Entrepreneur Expo. And this is where we're going to hear from our amazing keynote speaker. But please don't go anywhere because we are going to be right back. Welcome back to the 12th Annual Women's Entrepreneur Expo. I'm your host, Dr. Joan Henry Fields, affectionately known as Jamaican Joan. And I have the amazing Dr. Ruben West here with me today. And I'm sure you guys have seen the video where he warned that he's going to be bringing the heat. And so the moment of heat is here. But before I have him bring the heat, let me just read a little bit about Dr. Ruben West, because see, I know Dr. Ruben West. I know all of his accomplishments, but you don't. So let me enlighten you so that when he starts speaking, you can see where all that is coming from. Okay? So Dr. Ruben West is a successful entrepreneur who, along with the help of several colleagues, created multiple companies in the tune of millions of dollars, including a martial arts school, a medical staffing company, a surgical staffing company, and more. Along his journey, he studied his success blueprint and now shares the formula with other entrepreneurs so that they can replicate the same results in their own professional and personal lives. He is devoted to helping others realize their dream, led him to establish Black Belt Speakers, which is a globally renowned training firm to emerging speakers, leaders, and communicators. In 2016, Dr. West received the President's Lifetime Achievement Award from President Barack Obama. In 2018, Dr. West received the Germa Holder Gerwis, and I'm sure he's going to tell you, say that properly, I probably mess it up, and which is a presidential award for being a human conservationist, which is defined as bringing out the best in others. Y'all know I'm reading a doctor's bio when I got to be saying all these big words, right? Lord, I'm going to need a speech therapy after this. In 2019, he received the Sydney Allycock Global Humanitarian Award and was recognized in the United States Civility Icon of the Year by iChange Nation at the World Civility Day Conference in Gary, Indiana. Dr. West developed a new communication paradigm called Bigaloo, which is considered to many to be the next evolution of change in how countries, companies, and communities communicate and build the future. As a speaker, trainer, author, and World Civility Ambassador, Dr. West's message transcends the stage, the page, and captures the heart and souls of those who hear his words, of those who hear his voice or read his words. I told y'all I was reading about Dr. Ruben West. He's going to be bringing the heat. Hello, Dr. West, and thank you again for your being here to serve on the stage of the Women's Entrepreneur Expo. I know you served in the past where you traveled to Maryland and stage and you kind of shook Maryland up a little bit. So I know you. Now here it is for you to shake the world. So
there you go. Love it.
I'm so super excited. I'm always excited when I'm in the presence of Dr. West because I know that I'm going to be hearing something super amazing. So how are you doing today, Dr. West?
I'm absolutely fantastic. I want to tell you, I've been listening to some of your other guests, and I just want to say thank you. Even in the midst of this global pandemic, when so many businesses have been hit and had to shut their doors, and so many conferences have canceled and churches have closed their doors and people have lost their jobs, people are looking for a sense of hope, just a glimmer of hope. And I love the fact that, Joan Henry, you decided to be that hope, no matter what you were facing, because I know you didn't get out of the global pandemic. It's global. You still got hit too. But you know what you said? Even in the midst of getting hit, I'm still going to deliver this conference for the women, for the men, for the people who need it. And so I just want to say thank you for being that rock, that foundation, that even in the midst of a pandemic, we can still count on you. So thank you very much.
And you are quite welcome. And I thank you just the same, and all the other speakers who have spoken earlier. Thank you guys for just hanging in there with me with this. Of course, this was my first virtual. And there was a time when I asked myself, what did I just take on? Because this is no easy task. It's like, oh my goodness. But nonetheless, I was determined to not skip a year because of a pandemic.
Right.
I'm gonna do what I love to do and bring great information across the airwaves. And one thing about this one, Dr. West, see, the other expos, it was kind of limited to Maryland, Virginia, maybe New York, and Delaware. But this is going to be international. I had speakers earlier that was from Jamaica. So there is no limit on this. So I want you to take it away like their life depends on it, because they do, because you're going to be speaking on how one can embrace their potential with a winning mindset. And if ever that topic was relevant, it would be now. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Joan. And for everyone who decided to tune in, I'm excited to share this message with you. And what we're talking about is embracing our potential with a winning mindset. I'm going to say that one more time because I really want you to catch this. We're talking about embracing our potential with a winning mindset. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Joan. Most of the time when you have somebody come in and you tell them, tell the audience how they can embrace their potential with a winning mindset, they're going to start telling them all the things they want them to do. I want you to do that, and I want you to do this, and write this down. And there's nothing wrong with that. But here's what I understand. That I'm not just going to talk to you about what I want you to do or how to behave. I want to talk to you about your belief. You know why? Because belief creates behavior. I'm going to say that again. Belief creates behavior. And so if I help you change your belief, your mindset, then here's what I also know. In the process of doing that, I'm going to help you change your behavior. And so as you're listening to me right now, I want you to realize this. And here's my opening statement. You live based on what you believe. You live based on what you believe. Now, let me tell you why that's important, because if you start with the wrong assumption, you're likely to end up with the wrong conclusion. Now, come on, Ruben. If you start with the wrong assumption, Joan, you're likely to end up with the wrong conclusion. Just to prove it to you, if you're listening right now, just to prove it to you, I'm going to tell you a story. Don't put anything in the feed. I just want you to listen to this story. Listen to this. A guy leaves home jogging. He turns left. He jogs some more. He turns left. He jogs some more. He turns left. He jogs some more. He keeps doing it until he's coming up on home, and there's two men in a mask. Now, right now, I want you to think about what's going on. And I'm not talking about they have on a mask because of a global pandemic. Right now, masks are kind of common. So you're probably thinking, well, that's nothing unusual. This is Corona. This is the pandemic. Everybody has a mask. So I'm going to go back and say it again and then see if you can rethink this. Listen to this. Guy leaves home. He turns left. He's jogging. Turns left again, jogging. Turns left again. He keeps doing it. He's coming back home. He sees two men in masks. Now, my question for you is what's going on? That's my question for you. Right now, what's going on? I'm going to go ahead and tell you what's going on. You know what's going on? He's in a baseball game. He left home plate. The two men in masks, they're the catcher and the umpire. You see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is When you start out with the wrong assumption, you're likely going to end up with the wrong conclusion. And so many of us start out with the wrong assumption about who we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to live and what is our potential and what is our greatness. And the problem is when we start out with that wrong assumption, we're probably going to end up with the wrong conclusion. And so let me tell you why this is so difficult. Write this down. This is important. Remember this, that when you're young, when you're impressionable, when you're going through difficult times, it's rough. When you're going through those hard times, you're not at your best. When you're going through those difficult times, you're not at your strongest. And what happens, come on, somebody, what happens is a lie, watch this, a lie told in a moment of truth, a lie told in a moment of weakness can sound like the truth. Listen to that. A lie told in a moment of weakness can sound like the truth. Now, why is that important? Because when you're in that moment of weakness, they can plant the wrong seed. When you're in the moment of weakness and you believe what they said, it can sound like the truth. When you're in that moment of weakness and you hear the lie and you take it as the truth, you're starting out with the wrong assumption. And what did I tell you? That when you start out with the wrong assumption, that is likely going to end up with the wrong conclusion. And so all I'm here to do today is to help shift that assumption, to help you rethink how you started, to help you rethink what you've been called to do and been called to be, to help you rethink your potential. Because here's what I know. The greatest tragedy in life is to run into the person that you were supposed to become. I know somebody felt that. The greatest tragedy in life is to run into the person that you were supposed to become. And so now what happens is you knew that you were born for greatness. You knew you were destined for a certain position, for a certain job, for a certain title. You knew that was what you were called to do, but for whatever reason, you never followed down that path. And so now you've run into the person living the life that you're supposed to live. I don't know. Joan Henry, do you remember that movie called The Lion King? You remember the movie The Lion King? Well, listen, I got a son named Robinson. He just turned 9 years old on November 9th. He just turned 9 years old, but that was one of his favorite movies. And so we would have to watch that movie again and again and again and again. My wife and I went to New York on Broadway, and guess what play we saw on Broadway? We saw The Lion King. Now, I got to set this up for you because a lot of people saw The Lion King, but Joan Henry, they didn't see what I saw. What I saw was, they saw Simba, and that was the baby lion, and they saw Mufasa hold Simba up in the air, and he was destined to be king. His position was already set. He was destined to be king. As a matter of fact, Simba had a song, Joan Henry, and you know what his song was? I just can't wait to be king. How many of y'all have a song that you know is your destiny? When you sing it, you're calling out your destiny. That's not what you thought you were supposed to do. That's what you know you're supposed to do. It's not what you were paid to do, but it was what you were made to do. How many of you have that song and you call it out every now and then just to remind you of how powerful you are and where you're supposed to go? That's exactly what Simba had. He said, I just can't wait to be king. But here's what I know, that just because you have a position that you've been called for and you've been called to do doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't want it. And so Simba's uncle Scar, he wanted to be king, but the problem is because Mufasa was the king, when Mufasa is no longer king, it goes to his son. He's the heir. And so he said, look, here is Simba, and he's going to be king. And now Scar was upset. And so what Scar did was he went after Mufasa. And as a matter of fact, they got into a fight. They fought back and forth, and Scar killed Mufasa. But you know what he did? He went and told Simba, Simba, you know what you did? You got your father killed. It's your fault. You wasn't supposed to let this happen. And because he was trying to save you, your father died. And poor Simba was a young lion. In other words, poor Simba was weak. In other words, a lie told in a moment of weakness come on, somebody, can sound like the truth. Let me tell you, there's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. And he said there's 3 factors. And when these 3 factors are present, things can get imprinted on our subconscious mind. Let me give you the 3 factors. Number 1 is something that's told to us by an authority figure. Number 2 is something that's said to us with emotion or force. And number 3 is something that's repeated often. When you have those 3 factors, something that's said to you by an authority figure, something that's repeated with emotion or force, or something that is said with repeated often, it gets imprinted on your subconscious mind. So when you have somebody that's a parent or a teacher or an uncle or an aunt or in a position of authority, say, you'll never amount to anything. You don't know anything. You're just like your daddy. You just like your mama. You ain't gonna be nothing like everybody else in your family. You ain't going nowhere. Do you know where you're from? When it's said to you by an authority figure, when it's repeated with emotion or force, and it's said often, it gets imprinted on your subconscious mind. And so then when you go to try and be great, you hear those words come back to you. Why? Because a lie told in a moment of weakness can sound like the truth. And so here's Simba, who was supposed to be king. He had a song that said, I just can't wait to be king. But his uncle was an authority figure, told him something with emotion or force. You know what he told him? It's your fault that your father's dead. And how dare you show yourself around here again? What you need to do is you need to leave Pride Rock. That shows you how many times I saw it. You need to leave Pride Rock. In other words, you got to get out of here. How are you going to show yourself? Don't show up here again. And so what happened is Simba left. He left Pride Rock. He had an assignment. He had something he was called to do. He had someone he was called to be. But because he heard that lie in a moment of weakness that sounded like the truth, he left. You know why? Because we live based on our belief. And now let me tell you what happened, Joan Henry. Not only did he leave Pride Rock, everything changed. You get what I'm saying, Erica Murray? Everything changed. Let me show you. His song used to be, I just can't wait to be king. He used to hang out with other lions. But now, because he left, because he thought he did wrong, he changed up his friendship circle. There's some of you that were hanging with people that had standards, that had a high calling, that were meant to be something. You were flying with eagles, but because of a mishap in your life, because of something that happened to you or something you've been through, you switched up your whole circle. And so now you're down there with chickens and crows and pigeons, and you were flying with eagles. Listen, he used to hang with other lions, and now his best friend is a meerkat and a warthog. Come on, somebody. Now here is Simba, the lion, king of the jungle, and his best friend now is a meerkat and a warthog. Oh my goodness. And guess what else? He changed up his song. His song used to be, I just can't wait to be king. Now his song is Hakuna Matata. No worries. It's a problem-free philosophy. In other words, I ain't putting in no extra work. I ain't going no extra mile. I'm not going to do anything extra. I'm just going to take life as it comes. And let me just clarify who I am, because some of you are listening right now and you think I'm Ruben West, the speaker. I'm not. I'm Ruben West, the messenger, and I'm speaking to somebody right now today, because some of you have switched up your friends, you've switched up your places, and you've even switched up the song for your life. You won't even sing that same song no more. Now you have a different song. That's exactly what happened to Simba. He had a different song. His song, Hakuna Matata. No worries. It's a problem-free philosophy. And so he's living his life with a meerkat and a warthog. But Joan, let me tell you what happened. I know you've seen it. I know you saw the movie, and I know y'all listening probably saw the movie, but I've got to break it down to you how I saw it when I was watching it in New York on the play. What I saw was Rafiki, the wise baboon. Come on, I told you I saw this show over and over again. Rafiki, the wise baboon, came to give him a message. And you know what he did? He hit him in the head with his stick, and he said, your father is alive. What? He said, your father is alive. My father? No, my father's not alive. My father's dead. He said, no. Your father is alive. And he said, come over here and look. And he had him look down in the water. And when he looked down in the water, he saw a reflection. Now, here's the problem is because a lot of times we look from the inside out and we don't get a chance to look from the outside in. And so when he told him to look in the water, he was seeing from the outside in. He said, wait a minute. I look like my dad. Wait a minute. I'm supposed to be somebody. Wait a minute. I got something coming to me. I was created for a purpose, on purpose, and with a purpose. There's things that I was trained to do, but there's things that I was ordained to do. And I'm talking to somebody. I'm coming at you because today I'm going to hit you right upside the head, just like Rafiki, the wise baboon. And I'm going to tell you that you are created to be something better than what you may be living right now. And I want you to go look in the mirror and not see who you see, but you have to see who your father created you to be. Come on, somebody. And so when Rafiki looked, when Simba looked in the water, he realized, wait a minute, I see me. Wait a minute. I was called to be somebody else. I used to hang with different people. I used to hang in different places. I used to have a different song. I used to sing a song that said, I just can't wait to be king. And so you know what he decided to do? He said, wait a minute, here's what I got to do. I've got to go back to Pride Rock. I've got to go back to where I'm from. And so he realized that his father wasn't alive because he was still alive. His father was alive because he lived in him. What I'm telling you all is somebody passed you the baton. Somebody ran the race before you. See, that's what I love about Mufasa, because Mufasa ran the race before Simba. He set everything up for him. He went through all these hard times to bring in these resources, and then he was prepared to hand him the baton, and Simba went off to another place. And I believe that there's somebody listening to me right now that somebody worked for you. Somebody went the extra mile for you. Somebody sacrificed so you can have the things you have. You can be where you want to be, and you can do what you want to do. But because somebody lied to you in a moment of weakness, somebody told you that since I left you, nobody's going to want you. Somebody told you that you'll never get another job. You'll never get out of debt. And they told you that lie, and I'm going to say it's a lie. They told you it in a moment of weakness, and it sounded like the truth. And then for some of you, you've been getting told a lie your whole life. You'll never amount to anything. You're just like your daddy. You know where you come from. You just like your mama. Y'all ain't never been nothing, and you ain't never gonna be nothing, and you ain't never gonna have nothing. And because it's been told you over and over and over again, it got imprinted on your subconscious mind. And every time you go to take that step, and every time you try to go to that next level, that thought, that idea, that voice comes up in your head. And I'm here to tell you that you can't live that way. That you got to realize that they don't know your story. And let me tell you this, I get it. There's somebody saying, Ruben, right now, you don't understand. You don't know where I've been through. You don't know where I come from. You don't know the hardships I've had. You don't know what we've had to go through. You don't know the side of the tracks I grew up on. You don't know any of that, Dr. West. You don't know any of that. And I'm just trying to tell you because you don't know. You're right. I don't know. And I don't need to know. Because what you're talking about the past. And here's what I know. We can't change the past. Rafiki didn't say to Simba, we're going to go back and change the past. No, he said, look, go get your future. I'm not telling you to go back to the person in your 5th grade class that told you whatever it was they told you and change that. You can't change that. Can you write the beginning? No. The beginning of your story was written without you even having a decision to make. But you know what? You can't write the beginning, but you can write the ending. And all I'm saying is that if you can write the ending, pick up the daggone pen and let's write a bestseller. Simba went back to Pride Rock, and when he left, listen to this, it was rich, real, and refreshing. He looked out and it was covered with green and fruits and lively and everything. But now, since Scar had taken over, it was desolate. It was destroyed. The animals were desperate. And Simba's walking around and he knows that this is Pride Rock, but this is nothing that he's ever seen before. He doesn't even recognize this. He's saying, wait a minute, what's going on here? I don't understand. And then you know what happened, Joan? He ran into his uncle Scar. Y'all missed it. Let me say it again. And so he's looking around and it's desolate. He recognizes it, but he doesn't recognize it. He knows this is what it used to look like, but this is what he looks like now. And then he turns and he walks up and he runs into his Uncle Scar. Oh, come on, somebody. I told you the greatest tragedy in life is running into the person that you were supposed to become. Because right now, Scar is sitting on the throne. Scar is the king, and Simba was supposed to be the king. And some of you keep running into the person that you were supposed to become, and you won't fight for your destiny. You keep putting the pen down. You keep trying to pick up the eraser and take back year 29. You can't change year 29. I'm sorry.
Preach, Doc.
I'm hyped. You can't change year 29 unless you're on year 28. That's the only way you change year 29. And how do you do it? You change the way you think. And so Simba said, wait a minute. I'm supposed to be king. And you know what he did? He had to fight to reclaim his position. And I'm just saying that there's somebody listening to me right now. How do you know, Ruben? Because I'm a messenger, not a speaker. And so I know there's somebody listening to me right now who's going to have to fight to reclaim their position. And you got to do it right now. See, I'm giving you this message in real time. I didn't have this written down. I didn't have this put together. I had something completely different. And I said, wait a minute, I can't even share my screen. So I'm going to just go down this line. And I don't mind that because I'm not a speaker. See, a speaker would be all messed up right now. They'd be like, wait a minute, Joan, I didn't get my PowerPoint. And can you turn on the thing? I'm not a speaker. I'm a messenger, so I'm cool. Because I know that there's somebody who needs these words. And so when I tell you that you're going to have to fight for who you're supposed to be, you got to make up your mind to fight right now. And you know why? Because there's a thing called the law of diminishing intent, which means when you decide you're going to do it, if you don't take action right now, you probably won't do it. How do I know? Well, you know, there was a time when I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out and cut the grass. And I got the unction to go cut the grass. And then I said, well, wait a minute, let me get something to drink. And I said, wait a minute, what are they talking about on TV? And wait a minute, let me turn on the air conditioner. And the next thing you know, I never cut the grass. And then I ended up, watch this, I ended up paying somebody else to cut the grass. You know why? Because when I was ready to do it, I didn't take action. So all I'm telling somebody right here, right now, is that if you know you're supposed to be fighting to change your life, don't wait. You got to do it right now. Now, there's some things that you may have supposed to have done in the past that may not be available for you right now. Don't trip. Helen Keller said when one door closes, another door opens, but we're so busy looking at the closed door that we don't even notice the open one. And you know what I've decided, Joan Henry, that some of us do see the other door. They do see this new door of opportunity, but it's still closed. You ever look at a door? If you're in a room right now, just look over and find a door. And what you're likely to see, look over and find the door. And what you're likely to see is the door has 3 hinges. And let me tell you what your new opportunity door is. It's on 3 hinges. The hinge of decision making, the hinge of commitment, and the hinge of faith. And most of us won't make the decision. We don't even want to make a decision on what we're going to wear today. We say, I don't know. What do you think? We won't even make a decision on what we're going to eat on a daily basis. I don't know. What do you think looks good? We won't make a decision. And so if you're going to change your life, if you're going to operate in your potential, you got to make that decision. And then here's another thing. Listen to this. I said the door of opportunity swings open on hinges of decision-making, faith, and commitment. Now watch this. Faith is believing in what you do not see. Come on, somebody. Faith is believing in what you do not see. But check this out. Fear is believing in what you do not see. And so since faith and fear believe and require the same thing, a concept of what we do not see, you can't have both at the same time. And so you either going to operate in faith or you're either going to operate in fear. And so some people make the decision, and some people will even make the commitment, Joan Henry. But you know what they don't have? They don't have the faith. They just have the fear. And so here's what I know. Come on, somebody. Here's what I know. If you only have two hinges that are moving and the other one's still stuck, you still can't open the door. And so that next opportunity stays locked to you. And so all I'm telling someone here today, Kim Schimmel, listen what I'm telling somebody else. Get you some Faith WD-40 and oil that hinge and open that dadgum door. Come on, somebody. You've got to fight for who you're supposed to be. You got to get on to the next level. You know why? Because your outlook shapes your life more than your life shapes your outlook. Come on. You've never seen a heavyweight champion that grew up, boxing champion that grew up rich. Nobody was sitting there eating steak and caviar off a silver platter talking about, I'm going to go get in the ring and get punched in the face. I'm going to go start running around the block. No. You know what they started doing? They started thinking in themselves, wait a minute, I can work to get out of this situation. That I may have to take some hits and I may have to get knocked down from time to time, but I want to be the champion of the world. I've got to work for this. And they start changing their mindset. And then watch this. Their outlook shapes their life more than their life shapes their outlook. You know why? Because if they looked at their current life, it's desolate, it's downtrodden. If you look at their current life, most of them grew up in a difficult situation, but they said, wait a minute. If I have a different outlook, I can produce a different outcome. Come on, Ruben. If I have a different outlook, I can produce a different outcome. But most people think that it's going to be easy. I don't think so. Dr. Clarice Fluid said champions live differently than ordinary people. Come on, somebody. She said champions live differently than ordinary people. Muhammad Ali said, I hated every moment in the gym. But I said, suffer now and live the rest of my life as a champion. In other words, there's some things that I'm going to have to do. There's some things that I'm not only going to have to go through, but I'm going to have to grow through them. But if I'm willing to do it, I'm going to just suffer now. You get that? I'm going to suffer now and I'm going to live the rest of my life as a champion. And it's going to be hard. You know why? Because now you're trying to fly up here with the Eagles and everybody else is down here. And they're going to be calling you, Ruben. We're having a party down here. Ruben, why are you working so hard? Ruben, why are you putting in overtime? Ruben, why you read so much? Ruben, you don't ever want to watch the TV. Ruben, come on, somebody. They're going to try and call you over to where they are. And you're going to feel like, man, I'm all alone. It's difficult. I'm just here and nobody's out here with me. It feels like I'm lost. Listen, you're not lost. Your path is just different. I'm going to say that again. You're not lost. Your path is just different. And so when your path is different, you don't see everybody else standing around you. You don't see everybody else waiting on you because your path is different. And I'm going to tell you again, I told somebody on here right now that it's your time to pick up the pen and make a decision that you're going to change your life. And you don't have to. Now, you can let the potential fall by the wayside. As a matter of fact, Ramonda, listen to this. How many times have we said, oh, yeah, you know, so-and-so, they had so much potential. Notice it's past tense, not have so much potential. We say they had so much potential. In other words, that potential is no longer available. And there's somebody right now riding on the timeline of their potential, and they got to make a decision to use it right now. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said potential has a shelf life. Y'all know what I'm talking about if y'all cook. Y'all check the date. Anybody ever just pick up the bottle and check the date? I'm a chronic check the date person. If I pick up a salad dressing, you best better believe I'm going to check the date. I'm a chronic date checker because I'm not taking anything past this shelf life. And people say, that doesn't mean it's not good. That just was the best used by. Well, guess what? You should use your potential in the best used by date. Don't wait till after the date. Potential has a shelf life. But so many people are waiting and waiting and waiting. And here's what I could tell you, that weight broke the scale. But you got to quit waiting. That weight broke the scale. And it's going to be hard. And I told you that you got that decision making, you got that commitment, and you're trying to get there. You're trying to get across. You're trying to bridge the gap. You're trying to get to that next level. You're trying to get to that next opportunity. But Margaret Shepherd said that sometimes the only available transportation you're going to have is a leap of faith. That's going to be the thing that opens the door. And so what I know, Joan Henry, what I know, Dr. Henry, is that most people, they don't want to go the extra mile. They say it's never crowded on the extra mile. It's never crowded on the extra mile. You know why? Because the extra mile is difficult. You know why? Because the extra mile is treacherous. You know why? Because the extra mile is when you're already broken down. You know why? Because the extra mile is inconvenient. And here's what I know: inconvenience exposes commitment. If you want to know if somebody's committed or not, make it inconvenient. Because, oh my goodness, I was going to go to the gym, but it was cold. Ooh, I can't go to the gym now because it's cold. I was going to go to the gym, but it's raining. I'm not going to the gym now. I was going to go to the store, but it's raining right now, so I'm not going to the store. And there's so many things that we were going to do for ourselves but we quit because it was inconvenient. And why was it inconvenient? Because of bad weather. Listen to this. There's no such thing as bad weather. There's just bad clothes for certain types of weather. And so it doesn't matter if it's raining, take an umbrella. Doesn't matter if it's cold, put on a coat, hat, and gloves. But most of the time, once it becomes inconvenient, people have a change of heart. They're not trying to do that. And so what you have to realize is there's a version of you that is in the future. It doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist yet, but it is available for you to bring into existence. Catch this. It's in the future. It doesn't exist yet, but it's available for you to bring into existence. My son, Robinson, when I wake him up every day, I go in there and I wake him up and I shake him on the days I wake him up and I say, "You're full of greatness and possibility. You're full of greatness and possibility." I get right there in his ear. And guess how I say it as an authority figure? "You're full of greatness and possibility. You're full of greatness and possibility." I get right in his ear. Guess how I say it? With emotion and force. "You're full of greatness and possibility. You're full of greatness and possibility." I get right in his ear, and guess how I say it? Often. "You're full of greatness and possibility. You're full of greatness and possibility." And then I have him stand in front of the mirror and say to himself, "You're full of greatness and possibility. You're full of greatness and possibility." You know why? Because I want him to believe that he's full of greatness and possibility. Why? Because you live based on your belief. Because I know that somebody's going to come along to try and tell him what he can't do, or what he won't do, or what he's not available to do, or what he's not smart enough to do. And when they do it, I want him to hear his dad's voice in his ear saying, "You're full of greatness and possibility. You're full of greatness and possibility." And see, there's somebody on here right now that's full of greatness and possibility, but they're still listening to that old negative voice. And so there's things that are in the future that right now are non-existent. Somebody catch this. There's things that are in the future right now, but they're non-existent. But the non-existent doesn't come down to sufficient desire. It comes down to sufficient belief. That if you believe it enough, you're going to go after it. If you believe it enough, you'll take the action. That's why you don't focus on changing the behavior. You focus on changing the belief, because belief creates behavior. And all I'm telling somebody right now, Sylvia, is that there's a level of belief that a lot of us have access to, but we haven't tapped into yet. That it's available for us. It's right there. But we have to tap into it. And so you're probably asking me, "Well, Dr. West, we hear you talking. I hear you saying this, but how do I know if I've tapped into the belief or not?" You know, one of the things I love teaching my son about math is addition and subtraction and multiplication and division, because they go hand in hand. If you take 5 plus 5 and equal 10, then you should be able to take 10 minus 5 and equal 5. right? They go forward and they go backwards. And so I said that belief creates behavior. And so there's people who ask me, Dr. West, how do I know if I have sufficient belief? Look at your behavior. If you look at the behavior, that shows what you believe. You can't tell me I believe in eating healthy and I believe in taking care of myself and pass me another slab of ice cream, right? And I don't have time to go to the gym, and I would go, but it's raining. Right? Because belief creates behavior. And so all we have to do is look at your behavior. And we can pretty much know what it is that you believe. And so I don't blame you, because a lot of times we've been forced into situations where we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know what was going on. When you're younger, we don't know. And remember, I told you that a lie told in a moment of weakness can sound like the truth. And then when you believe it as true, you live your whole life based on that belief. See, some people live their whole life based on someone else's version of the truth. Let's go back to the Lion King. When Scar told Simba, it's your fault and you should never show your face around here again. And Simba, you're the reason your father died. That's what he said. You're the reason your father died. And then watch this, Joan. Simba left, and you know what he started doing? He started living his whole life based on Scar's version of the truth. Some of us live our whole life, Dr. Tracy Ward, based on someone else's version of the truth. When they said, you'll never find anybody else, we're still living our whole life based on their version of the truth. You'll never get out of debt. We're still living our whole life based on somebody else's version of the truth. And it's not true. But the problem is, when you start believing it, your belief shapes your life, right? You live based on what you believe. And then you start seeing what you believe. And so we get trapped in this environment of disbelief. I heard this story of this father fish swam down to his son, and he said to his son who was swimming with his little friend, he said, be careful, Frank. Be careful if you go up top. Why, Dad? He said, be careful if you go up top because the water's cold. And he said, okay. And then his father swam off. And then his friend said, Frank, what did your dad say? He said, be careful if we go up top because the water's cold. And they just swam on a little ways. And then his friend said, Frank. He said, yeah. He said, what's water? He said, I don't know. You get what I said? He said, what's water? I don't know. You know why? Because he's lived his whole life in it and he doesn't even know it's there. And all I'm telling you is sometimes when you lived your whole life based on what somebody else told you and what somebody else showed you and what was shown around you, you can miss the truth. And the truth is, you're full of potential. The truth is, you are created on purpose, for a purpose, and with a purpose. The truth is that you are in a position that you can go the extra mile. But so many times we get beat down by life and that we forget that we were called for something. Listen to this, write this down. Don't let the condition of your life distract you from the meaning of your life. You get that? Don't let the condition of your life distract you from the meaning of your life. Yes, we can be in difficult positions. See, Muhammad Ali said, I hated every moment in the gym. Mike Tyson said he didn't grow up rich. He grew up in a boys' home, a group home. That was the condition of their lives. But the meaning was, I'm going to be a champion. And Dr. Fluid said champions live differently than ordinary people. You know why? Oh, come on, Ruben. Because champions dress for the weather. Come on. Champions dress for the weather. They don't look at the door and say, I would go to the gym today, but I already have on shorts and it's cold. I would go to the gym today, but it's raining. I went to the gym, but before I got there, it started raining and I didn't have my umbrella, so I didn't go into the gym. I mean, let me tell you something. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Y'all listening? I'll promise everybody on here that there's nobody that I know and nobody on here I could put you to the test. There's nobody probably in my city, state, or country that's better. Listen to this. That's better than my wife and I on a diet or workout plan for the first 3 days. For the first 3 days, there's nobody on here better than we are. Because for the first 3 days, we're getting up. We got on our workout clothes, but we're ready to go. We eating right. We done got the salad, a new salad dressing, and a new salad cookbook. You know what I'm saying? For the first 3 days, day one, we killed it. And day two, we're a little sore, but we're at it again. And day three, we're right back at it again. At day four, how you feel? My legs. How you feel? My legs too. Let's hold off today and then we'll pick back up tomorrow. Guess what? I went to Joe's Crab Shack. You know what it said? Free crab tomorrow. Guess what? When I went back the next day, guess what they said? Free crab tomorrow. In other words, tomorrow never comes. Why put off till tomorrow what you can do today? You got to do it now. Somebody write this down. Now, N-O-W, new opportunity window. You have to do it now. N-O-W, new opportunity window. You have to do it right now. And so sometimes we get there and we pontificate so long that we wasn't even in the mood anymore. Why is that, Dr. West? I already told you, it's the law of diminishing intent. When you get the idea, you got to take action right now. Don't believe me. Don't take my word for it. Mel Robbins wrote a book. It's called The 5-Second Rule. Somebody put that in the feed. Mel Robbins, The 5-Second Rule. And what she said is you have 5 seconds. Count backwards from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go into action. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go into action. I'm gonna start giving you some resources right now. So I want you to put that down. It's the 5-second rule. You can get that book and read it. You can also go online and put in 5-second rule, Mel Robbins PDF, and they'll give you a summary of the book. You can also go to Get Abstract. Somebody put that in the feed. GetAbstract.com. GetAbstract.com. You can go to GetAbstract.com and just get the abstract of the book, the important part of the book, the takeaways, the quotes, the to-dos, and it'll tell you how do you use the 5-second rule to change your life. How do you use the 5-second rule to maximize your potential? Somebody please put that in the chat. And then here's another thing I want you to think about. This is why it's so important about that you get around the right individuals. That's why I love Joan Henry, because even in the midst of a global pandemic, no, not a regional pandemic, no, not a statewide pandemic, even in the midst of a global pandemic when everybody was shutting down and everything was shutting down, Joan Henry was figuring out ways to stand up. When everybody else was saying, this is what we can't do, Joan Henry was saying, this is why I have to do it. That it's not going to be easy. It may be a lot of work. I get it. But she knows, Joan knows, champions live differently than ordinary people. And that there's somebody that needed this conference. And so, and check this out. And this is the truth. None of us would have blamed Joan Henry if she would have canceled it. We was like, well, Joan, we understand you've never done it virtual before. That ain't the way you do it. You used to bring people together and you get these amazing speakers come in. You have these whole vendor booths and you just want to give back. But this ain't even it. Now you got to figure out a whole new level of technology. You got to get people to get online and you got to talk about StreamYard. What's StreamYard? How do I tell them about StreamYard? You got to worry about, do they have the right camera? Do they have the right lights? Do they have the right internet? And you're taking all of this risk, but champions live differently than ordinary people. And so she said, I probably disliked every moment of putting this together, but I said, suffer now and live the rest of my life as a champion. And so that's why I like you, Joan, because you take the time to, no matter what, still show up. Joan reached out to me and said, hey, Dr. West, will you be on the show? And I'm thinking, I'm already on the show. She just doesn't even know it yet. See, all I'm telling you is that Joan could have said, well, Dr. West usually will come out live. And the last time he sent Dr. Ward, and they love Dr. Ward, but I don't know. I'm not even going to ask him. I'm not even going to bug him. I'm not even going to push the issue. I mean, Dr. West, he was over in Nigeria, and he was over in Uganda, and he was meeting with the President of Burundi and the King of Toro and the Vice President in Guyana. Dr. West, I don't even think he would do that. Does he even do this stuff anymore? And most of us talk ourselves out of ever taking action. Not Joan Henry. Not Joan Henry. She's like, I tell you what, Dr. West, yes, I need you to do my thing. I need you to be my person, right? And sometimes that's what life is going to take. Sometimes you have to have a new level of audacity. Sometimes you have to declare who you've been called to be and declare that you've been given favor, and you got to reach out like you've been called to reach out. And then when you reach out, when you do your part, somebody say you have not because what? You ask not. When you do your part, the door opens up. You have the decision making. I'm going to call Ruben. You have the commitment. Let me look up his number, and I'm going to reach out in faith. The big doors of opportunity swing open on hinges of decision making, commitment, and faith.
You know what, Dr. West? Let me cut in right here, because folks may think that you're referring to this platform, but you got to tell them about when you came to Maryland, when I called you, that when you spoke on the stage 2016. So, like you said, you have not because you ask not. And I know that Dr. West, first of all, I called him, I said, Dr. West, well, for sure, I know that I can't afford you. That's number one. But can you come to Maryland and speak to my audience? You remember that story?
Of course I remember that. Of course I remember that. And you see, here's what we don't know a lot of times is most people say, I'll take action when I get the resources. But God says, I'll give you the resources when you take action. See, most people, Joan Henry, what I learned is that your potential comes down to what you mix your faith with. Oh, come on, somebody get this. This is good. Your potential comes down to what you mix your faith with. Somebody get this. Your potential comes down to what you mix your faith with. So faith plus X equals potential. And most people have faith with anticipation. And so what they do is like, oh my goodness, I can't wait for this. And I'm believing for it. And I'm trusting for it. And I'm asking for it. And I'm praying for it. And here's what I know. We can't use prayer to replace laziness. Come on, Ruben, don't cut them like this. You can't use prayer to replace laziness. If you ever look in the Bible, they had a short prayer and then they took some kind of action. They got up and did something. And so most people show up faith, Joan Henry, like this. This is them, the faith plus anticipation. And look, catch this. They got their sleeves all the way down to their wrists. Do you see this? They got their sleeves all the way down with the wrist. But how about somebody showing up with their sleeves rolled up because they've been putting in some work? Because faith without works is dead. And so your potential comes down to what you mix your faith with. And you can mix faith with anticipation, or you can mix faith with participation. And we need more people who mix their faith with participation, that they get out there and do something. And I know what you say, but Dr. West, you don't understand. You don't know where I come from, and you don't know what happened to me, and you don't know what they said to me, and you don't know my background, and you don't know my lack of resources. And I get all of that. I do. But you're not a product of your environment. You're a product of your requirement. What do you require from yourself? What do you require from yourself on a daily basis to reach your goal, to maximize your potential? Because here's what I know. Champions live differently than ordinary people. And so when Joan Henry reached out to me that first time, I didn't know who Joan Henry was. I didn't know. I was like, who is it? And I was like, I don't know, but I like her accent. Hold on. Yeah, what is it? It's Maryland. Maryland. Yes? Yeah. And okay, so that's what I do. I'm a speaker. I love speaking, right? Speakers want to do what? Speak. Speakers want to speak. And so I was like, no, I like this. I like what you're saying. I like what you're doing. And so let me ask you this, Joan Henry, what's the budget that you set aside? Because I know if you're putting on this big event and you're doing this Entrepreneur Women's Expo, you're putting on this big event. I know you've put together a budget for the speakers. So Joan Henry, what's the budget that you've put together for the speaker? And she said, you can have a table or something for your books or something. Like if you want to sell some books or you got a CD or a tape or something, you can get a table. And I was like, well, no, I do have a table and I do have some books and I do have some CDs, but what's the budget? She said, I don't have a budget. I have belief. Somebody hear that? She said, I don't have a budget. I have belief. Oh, okay. Okay, she doesn't have a budget. She has belief. But you know what? Here's what I know. That sometimes free work is the key work for me. Sometimes you're just making an investment. And so I said, you know what? I ain't tripping. Do me a favor. Just let me bring another one of my speakers, Demetra Moore, and let me bring her, put her on the stage with me. I'm good. I'll send you my bio. I'll send you my information. And ever since then, 2016, when she didn't have budget, she had belief. Me and Joan Henry's been down like 4 flat tires with no spare. Come on, somebody. Why? Because she was willing to step out there. She was willing to ask the question. Why? Because champions live differently than ordinary people. And so there's somebody on here right now that there's another level for you, but you won't even go after it. You won't even pick up the phone and call. You won't even let them say no. You talk yourself out of it. You got your own reasons why, well, that'll never work, or they'll never do that, or they'll never go from that. And you don't know. And so all I'm here to tell you, everybody on here, I'm just scared to tell you that there's another level for you. And there's a book called The Power of Onlyness. Onlyness. Only. That you are the only one in the world with your knowledge. You're the only one in the world with your unique background, your parents, your history, where you went to school, where you grew up, your friends. You're the only one in the world. And because of that, that qualifies you for something unique. But so many of us never want to do that unique thing. We want to be like somebody else. And the problem with that is, Joan Henry, that the voice will always have an echo, but the echo will never have a voice. And so many of us live our life as the echo and wonder why nobody's listening, because you'll never have a voice. But there's the power of onlyness. How do you step up and be who you were called to be with your unique gifts and your unique skills and your unique talents? How do you step up and occupy that space? Most people won't do it. Most people won't, because they're so worried about what somebody else will say and somebody else will think and somebody else will do and someone else will laugh. And let me just say this, and I'm about done, but if you can't handle being laughed at, then you'll probably never be applauded for. Come on, Ruben, say it again. If you can't handle being laughed at, then you'll probably never be applauded for. You know why? Because laughter and applause a lot of times go hand in hand. Because when they come up with the idea originally, the Wright brothers, we're going to create this plane and it's going to fly. That's crazy. We're going to have this phone and you're going to be able to dial on it and talk to people across the world. That was Spacely Sprockets when I was younger. That was the Jetsons. That wasn't real. And somebody said, no, we're going to come up with this idea. And there's people every day coming up with ideas that other people are laughing at. And guess what? Now they're being applauded for. Why? Because they can handle the laughter. But you're not bothering me because you laugh at me. You laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh at you because you're the same. The voice will always have an echo, but the echo will never have a voice. And so if you're going to maximize your potential, you got to do it as the voice. You got to exercise the power of me only. You got to decide what is it that you can do that no one else can do. And other people can do it, but they can't do it like you. They can't do it like you. And so here's what I want you to think. there's a new version of you right now. It's available all the time. I'm rethinking myself. I was a surgical tech. I worked in surgery as a surgical tech, passing instruments to the doctors. And then I went to the Gulf War, got an idea that I wanted to assist in surgery, came back, and in the state of Kansas, we started the profession of assisting in surgery. We wrote the textbook, scope of practice, job description, college curriculum, and we started assisting in surgery. I'm up leveling my potential. Why? Because I believe I'm supposed to. I believe that my ideas are my inheritance. T.D. Jakes said, we think in trees, God blesses us in seeds. He just gives you a little idea. He gives you an idea like the Women's Entrepreneur Expo. What's that going to be? Oh, I don't know. I've never done it before. Are you sure you can do that? I don't know. I'm just going to try it. Who's going to show up? I don't know. Who are you going to get to speak? I don't know. Who are your vendors going to be? I don't know. Everybody wants you to have an answer before you do it. But you don't have the answer. And so you have to put yourself out there. And here's the problem. Sometimes we think that our help's going to come from over here, and sometimes we think our help's going to come from over here. And if it's anything like my life, a lot of times the people I thought was going to help, they didn't help. As a matter of fact, let me tell you this story, and then I'm done. This lady, her husband had died. She lived in the village. Her husband had died. Her husband was the breadwinner. And she was praying out loud. Lots of volume. God, please give me bread. God, please bring me bread. God, please bring me bread. I trust you, God. Please bring me bread. And she would pray this prayer loud every day. And then one day there's a group of young boys, mischievous, running around outside, and they're listening to her. God, please bring me bread. God, please, Lord, provide me bread. And so they all get in a huddle and they start talking to each other, whispering. And they said, yes. And then they all take off. And she's in her house. Lord, please bring me bread. Lord, please bring me bread. Lord, please give me bread. And they all come back. And you know what? They have these little loaves of bread. And they start throwing them through her window. And they start hitting her with the bread. And she's like, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Lord, thank you for the bread. Lord, thank you. And they're laughing their head off at the lady because they know that they're the ones hitting her with the bread. And so she picks the bread up and she puts it on her shelf. And she says, Lord, thank you for the bread. And they said, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. So they go knock on her little screen and they said, we're going to let her know. And so she opens up the door. They said, you're so dumb, lady. You're so silly, lady. That wasn't from God. That was us hitting you with the bread. And she said, I asked God for bread. He decided how he was going to give it to me. So many times we try and control every single thing. And that's not faith. Faith is ask, put in the work, receive. Your life, you'll live it. How? Based on what you believe. Change your belief, it changes your behavior, it changes your potential. I'm Dr. Ruben West telling you to live your best life and do it now. You know why? Because you only get one. Joan?
Right. No, I was holding up my finger because I know you're
You already know, huh?
Oh yeah, you only have one. So that's
right.
Thank you so much, Dr. West, for this powerhouse presentation today. I mean, I started taking notes and I had to drop the pen. This is something I got to go back and listen to on my own time. It was kind of hard for me to take notes, even though I did jot a few things down.
Right.
But I said, nah, I need to listen. I need to listen. You were dropping some great nuggets, but let me tell you, when you said that I may be paraphrasing, that we need to have the WD-40 faith.
Come on. Come on.
I said, whoa, that's when I had to pick up the pen. I said, no, I can't wait to listen to this. I got to write this down now.
That's right.
Yes, but everything you said was definitely on point. And one of the other things I want to point out, you stated that you are not lost. Your path is different. And I know somebody needed to hear that because especially with this COVID going on, there's a lot of folks who feel as though they're lost. But no, you are not lost. Your path is different, or you may just have to take a different path, whichever version you want to go with.
Exactly.
That's what it's going to have to be. So that definitely was something that I know get to someone today. You said I was writing down stuff that you were saying. Let me see my favorite. So you referenced several times. You said pick up the pen. You keep saying pick up the pen, pick up the pen. And you know what? In my book, The Power of a Positive Mindset, there's a quote in there that says, "When writing the story of your life, don't let anyone else hold the pen."
Mm-hmm.
So as you pick up that pen and as you're getting ready to write your story, when writing the story of your life, don't let anyone else hold the pen.
Amen.
You talked about how, sometimes people call you left, right, center when you're trying to achieve greatness. Ruben, well, it was my job. For 5 years, I had to listen to calls and ignore calls. But you know what? If ever there was a time when I was happy about refusing or even ignoring or rejecting some of those calls, Joan, it was when I received that email from my school yesterday, because I know my program was over with because I defended my dissertation. But when I got the email said that the dean has approved and has signed and approved my dissertation, and now I could 1000% say, okay, Dr. Joan Henry, you did it. For me, that was big, because you know what, Dr. West, and this is nothing to by any means, impress anyone, but to impress upon someone that when you pick up that pen, when you realize that you're not lost, you're just on a different path. It's a force to reckon with, because you know what? I came from a very humble beginning of educational background, and we would need an entire other show to talk about it. But let's put it this way. I never entered high school because of teenage pregnancy. I'm from the Jamaican culture where you get pregnant, you don't get to go to high school, and that happened. And so I never set foot in a high school back home. And I moved to the United States in Brooklyn. And of course, I started the GED, which, oh my goodness, I wouldn't wish that on anyone else. That's just the hardest thing ever. And so while I was going through that GED program, I stopped by this college, Audrey Cohen College in Manhattan, and I was talking to the student advisor.
Yeah.
And of course, Dr. West, sometimes when you know that you mess up, you start to minimize yourself. So I went in there asking about an associate's program.
Come on.
And then, then the guy said to me, well, we do not have an associate's program. We have a bachelor's program. I said, well, I don't even have a high school diploma. I'm just asking for the future. So he said, okay, wait a minute. So with this particular school, you can start without a high school diploma, because after 60 college credits, which is that matter to a year, we will then send those college scores to the New York Higher Education, and you will get what is called a high school equivalency diploma.
Right.
I grabbed the bull by the horn and I ran for it. So I started the Audrey Cohen School, and after 1 year with the 60 credits, that's precisely what happened. They submitted and I received my high school equivalency diploma, and I continued with the program and finished the 4-year program and received my bachelor's in human services. But you know something, Dr. West, when I found myself in that situation with teenage pregnancy, I prayed to God and I said, God, if you just get me past this, I couldn't actually get out of it because I'm in it, but if you get me past it, I will stop at nothing to get to the top of the educational chart. And so when I finished my bachelor's program, I was walking on cloud 9. I later on moved to the DMV area, and I said, okay, there's some more schooling to be done. I applied and got accepted into the Howard University School of Social Work. Did y'all hear me? Howard University School of Social Work. I never set foot in a high school. Did you hear what I just said? And from there, I continued and I received my master's in social work, and I was happy. I invited almost every family member from Jamaica came up to my graduation. So people from all over came, and I was happy. Still, was very happy with my degree. But then I said, you know what? There is something about fulfilling your promise that you made to God. You cannot shortchange God because you feel like you've arrived and you are where you want to be. So you're going to just bail out on what you promised him. So I said, you know what? This is not the top of the educational chart. Like, honestly, when I started exploring my doctorate, it wasn't for the reasons that I'm going to be using it for now, or at
Right.
least that's not what I thought. It was just for status. It was just to say that I did it. That's all it was, to say that, Lord, I came through with my promise.
Right.
And I said, but there is one more step that I need to go. So fast forward, I applied and got accepted into Grand Canyon University, where I completed my doctorate in business administration with a focus on management. Again, I'm not saying this to impress anyone, but to impress upon you that when you put God first, when you put fears aside, when you embrace your potential with a winning mindset, there is nothing that you cannot achieve. There's nothing too hard for you to do, because guess what? It's not really you doing it. You're just showing up. God will take care of it. You just need to show up, and show up great. Dr. West, let me give you one more quick example of how I know that, you got to believe. You got to pick up that pen. You got to operate not out of fear, but you have to operate and just know that all things are possible. My son just went on to, he started Bowie State University in fall of this year.
Mm-hmm.
He did track in high school. And no, he didn't start Bowie with a track scholarship. He went on with regular loans. Matter of fact, I had to pay out of pocket some. But you know what? He showed up when the seniors were practicing, right? They were racing, doing their workout, doing their practice. And sometimes, you think that nobody is watching you, but somebody is. Somebody's always watching you.
Right.
And little did they know that there were coaches there that was watching his persistence, his showing up, and not just show up because he's curious as to what they're doing, not just show up because he didn't have anything else to do, but he showed up, and he showed up great. He was practicing even when he didn't have to. Right before they returned home from school for the Thanksgiving break, he was awarded a full ride track scholarship.
Come on now. Come on, somebody.
So when I tell you that you put in the work, you put in the faith, and when you show up, don't just show up because you know it's there for you. You don't have anything else. Show up, and show up great. Show up with intentions, because you don't know who's watching, where the blessing is going to come from. So we have to be intentional about these things. I've gone through a great ideal to try to figure this whole thing out, how to do this virtual lab. This is the 12th Expo, first one, virtual. And as a matter of fact, let me correct that, because it's 12 years, but it's actually 17 expos. Because I was doing the expo twice a year.
Yeah.
Yes. And then when I started my nonprofit, I said, something got to go. So I just went back to doing it once a year. It takes work. It takes commitment. I've had some disappointments along the way, but I did not let that stop me. I said, I don't care if I look at that lab and it's just one person watching. To God be all the glory, because I kept remembering what you said to me during the 2016 Expo. The people that were supposed to be in the room, they are in the room. I never once let that left my memory ever since you said that. So I don't worry about who's watching now, because you know what? Somebody else is going to watch later.
Exactly.
And so I thank you so much, Dr. West. And I bless the day that I ran into you at a conference, and that, I maintain friendship with you, because people, you got to find people who are about something. Those are the people you want to rub elbows with. And it's just amazing how you could be all the way in Topeka, Kansas, and making such an impact in me all the way in Fort Washington, Maryland. But it happened. And so all I can say, thank you for delivering such an amazing keynote today. And I just want to ask you, I'm going to ask you to share how people can find you and follow you after such an amazing delivery here today. I know somebody's going to want to get in touch with you. So please do share how they can find you and follow you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to share that. Matter of fact, let me just tell you, you can reach out to me on social media, Ruben, Ruben West, West. My name's right there. My website is rubenwest.com or rubenwest360.com. You can reach me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you want to do. But I want to say to you, Joan Henry, you just said something, and it really struck me. And most people don't realize this, but you said that when you completed your bachelor's degree, that you were so excited. You said you were so excited and you invited all these people from your home to come over. He's like, look, y'all got to come over. We got to celebrate. And then you said, Dr. West, I was on cloud nine. I don't know if y'all heard her say that, but I heard her say it. She said, Dr. West, I was on cloud nine. But what I love, Joan Henry, is that you thought, wait a minute, I got my bachelor's degrees. I'm on cloud nine, but I'm going to get my master's and be on cloud 10, and I'm going to end up in cloud 11 with my doctorate. So thank you for not stopping on cloud nine, because here's what I know. Water at the end of a marathon is better than water at the beginning. It's the same water, but what was different? The journey, the distance. And so congratulations. Everybody put in the feed, congratulations, Dr. Joan Henry. Everybody just put that in the feed. We owe her that. Congratulations, Dr. Joan Henry. And you know why? Because if you would have did something negative, everybody would have something to say. Oh my God, if you would have done anything negative, everybody would have something to say. But when you do something positive, it's like you can't poke or prod or convince people to say something. So just do me a favor, put in this feed, congratulations, Dr. Joan Henry. We are impressed by you, but we're not surprised, because you're one of those individuals that goes the extra mile. It's never crowded on the extra mile, and champions live differently than ordinary people. To everyone who showed up, thank you for showing up. You didn't show up for Joan Henry, and you didn't show up for myself. You showed up for you, and that means that you live differently than ordinary people. So, Joan, thank you for what you do. I got to commend you. 17 expos, 12 years straight, absolutely amazing. And to everybody who decided to show up, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to the viewers. And whether you're watching the live or the replay, I thank you just the same. Thank you for continuing to support the platforms. And of course, we continue this with tonight with the vendors at 7 o'clock, where they're going to be showcasing their products and services. And we're going to have a whole different setup party over there at 7 p.m. So tune in. We're going to be giving away some prizes, some to include Cash App prizes. So you want to tune in for that. Okay. So again, thank you, viewers. Thank you, Dr. West. Thank you guys for tuning into the 12th Annual Women's Entrepreneur Expo. I have been your host, Jamaican Joan. And until next time, you take care and make this a $1 million day. Jamaican Joan and the amazing keynote speaker, Dr. Ruben West, we are out.